Hiya. There's nothing professional going on here. Let's just get that out there. I'm sure there are going to be plenty of you that say, oh, there's easier ways of doing it. Oh, you shouldn't be doing it that way. I'm doing this the way that I know works and is comfortable for me. Sort of. So I've had a couple of people say, how do you get die cuts? What do you do? How do you do it? What do you do it with? So because I have order, I thought, well, why not just do it on cam? And then you guys can see. Although there are oodles and oodles of videos out there, this one's mine. Ta-da! Okay, so I have a hefty Gemini electronic. The reason why I actually quite like this is because it's A4 sized. I do have a Sizzix Big Shot die cutting machine, which is manual, which means that you have to turn the handle to take the card paper through the rollers out the other side to get stuff cut. Now, I've got quite bad shoulders, and I struggled doing the manual crank. I can do it, it just hurts. So having the electronic really helps me because it kind of does it itself. So, back to the A4 bit. The other thing is I don't have to trim much card or paper because most of the time the standard is A4. Very handy. No trimming. Unlike with the Sizzix, you have to get it down to a certain width, which is about 3/4 the width of A4. Something along those lines. There are little bad points with the electronic. The noise can be a bit of a pain, so I apologise in advance. You will hear the noise. You don't get that with the manual. It just goes through. The other bad thing with the electronic is you need the thin die cutters. Anything thicker than that and you're going to be struggling and possibly mess your machine up. As far as I'm aware. Please, by all means, in the comments, correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, so the order that I have today is for a cage, and birds. With any die cutting machine you need plates. Now you can see from that one it's pretty warped, and yet I do actually use it how it states to use it. Now I've had this machine now for about a year, I think. Maybe not even quite a year. And this is already my 4th plate. I'm not using them every day. And I am turning them, as you'll see in a moment. I do turn them constantly. Have been doing since I bought the plates, and yet this happens. So what I do when I put everything away, I make sure that the plates go away as I last used them. On these particular plates, they have the Gemini logo on. Now I know that the last time I used these plates, that Gemini logo was bottom left. You then get a magnetic sheet, which honestly I don't see the point of because it doesn't hold your dies in place. Oh well. Then there's very bowed extra shim, and then the warped bottom plate. I've got a feeling this is going to disappear fairly soon, but I have spares. Okay, so if I turn the machine how I need it. So I know it was bottom left that I last used it. So rotate, flip. And for that, just rotate it because I've already messed around with it. Same with the plastic shim. Now this particular order, the lady wants it in white. So my white card goes down on the bottom. Then goes the plastic shim. Then goes the magnetic. Then goes the top plate. Now if I were to put the magnetic, which would be handy, magnetic mat on top of the card and the dies instead of the plastic, it would hold the dies in place and where I'd need them. But that's not what the instructions state. Because my instructions say, well, if you do that, you're going to get a very, very badly marked up, and I'm pretty sure you're not going to be able to see that. There you go. Look, you can see marks just by one pass through. I don't want that because it's going to destroy my mat. So, bottom card, the dies. So for this one, there are 3 in 1. And I try and put them as close as I possibly can. The amount of people that, when I see people creating cards, even professional people creating cards, and they'll do the dies as an example. You see that? Just like, they'll put them higgledy-piggledy like that. Well, what a waste of card. So, because I like to try and save as much card as I can, I try and squinch them up a little bit, which you'll probably be able to see a lot better when I've actually cut them out. Plastic shim, magnetic shim, and the top. There's my sandwich, not an edible one. Place it in the start, make sure it's all lined up and straight, and feed it in. Cracking and creaking tends to be normal, so if you end up buying a die machine, whether it be a manual or an electronic, because the plates are acrylic, they will crack, but it's nothing to worry about. It really isn't. It's normal. Everybody says it's normal. It's normal. So, I'll just knock those out. So, you can see I've tried to get it as close to the edge as I possibly can. Now, a lot of people will use some washi tape to hold the dies in place, to keep them where they put them. And personally, I have had no joy with either low-tack masking tape nor washi tape. Because when I've put the washi tape down, it's then stuck fast. As soon as it goes through the rollers, it's like, I'm done, I'm finished, I'm not moving anywhere. And then you try and take it off and you've ruined whatever die cut you've made. So I don't use it. There are a lot of different ways of getting out the negative spaces. These are negative spaces. There's a lot of different ways of getting them out. I do tend to make a little bit of a mess when I do this. I don't care, it's only me cleaning it up. There are rollers. Some people will, again, use low-tack masking tape and take it off. Some people, which really aggravates me personally, purely because of plastic, will use something like baby wipes in when they're doing the die cutting, and all they do is peel off the baby wipe and the negative spaces come out, which is absolutely brilliant, and in my mind it's wow. But it's the baby wipe, and baby wipes are plastic, they're not flushable. It aggravates me a bit. So I use a dotting tool, one that I have a double of. Got a slightly focus camera, slightly bald end one side, and much smaller, more pointed on the other. So depending on the space that the die gives me, depends really which I use. This one's a pretty nice one to pop out, because the spaces are nice and large to just pop, and they do. On all die cuts you will get, and I'm really hoping you can see that, okay, so maybe you can, there are the little dots. Oh, you just saw one of them, hang on. You see the dots? All those dots are the white card behind. And as I use my tool and very gently push on each of those, my die cut will come loose. And there we have a cage that just fell on the floor. There we have our cage. So that's that one. We have one bird with a wing that can be lifted up. She's always nice to have on a bird. One poke for this one. And just lift it out. And another bird like so. And then I have my die cuts. Ta-da! And of course they can be used on all sorts of things, whether you're making frames or whether you're doing scrapbooking, card making. There are so many things that die cuts can be used on depending on shape. You can create envelopes, you can create boxes. Really, if you've got something in mind, just go looking for a die cutter and you'll probably find it. Very, very useful, very, very handy. Everybody's got their preference to die cutting machine. The majority of crafters that I personally know, they prefer the manual. I've told you the reasons why I like my electronic. There are other makes out there. I managed to get this one. Very pleased, although I've contacted Crafter's Companion, who actually make the Gemini, on several times over the past... Oh no, I got it in March. I'm lying to you. I haven't had it nearly a year. I've had it since March, because it was just before lockdown of pandemic 2020. I have contacted them several times and not got an answer, including when lockdown was eased a bit. So I don't know how they are, whether I'm going into junk and they're not checking junk or what, I don't know. But still, had a little problem when I got it. Would love to get it resolved. But other than that, I love the machine. I love doing die cuts. I tend to buy more for other people, thinking, oh, somebody will like that. I'll grab that one, rather than myself, which is a little odd, I know, but I enjoy doing them. Anyway, happy crafting, whatever your craft may be. Look after your hands because these are your main tool, and do not live life in regret.